for anybody to take that as a philosophy of like why to do something, like take yourself out of it entirely and think about like the impact that if you dare to believe in yourself and try, like you have no idea how far you can get. Like there's like no limit, and it's everybody's path is so unique.
What's good, everybody? Scoobert Dubert here. Really excited for this conversation with Rani Adi. Just loved her energy and what she brought to kind of every musical situation she's in. Creativity, hard work, optimism. And I feel like optimism is in short supply right now. And it is a breath of fresh air to hear somebody that just believes in music. And that makes me believe in Rani and believe in Postergirl, her band, and believe in all of these awesome projects that she's working on, you know, from Tiny Desk with PinkPantheress to Dove Cameron on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. I mean, incredible career, incredible trajectory, and just an incredible vibe. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I know I did. I left it more inspired and excited to make music, and I hope it inspires you in whatever creative endeavor you take on today. Before we get there, I'd love to thank our title sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists get to keep 100% of royalties and earnings. You can also get 30% off using our code. If you go to distrokid.com/VIP/lovemusicmore, you can get started. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music onto Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all of the major streaming services. I love it because I can go on my app, check my bank, withdraw to the bank, and kind of see where my royalties are at, because that's what we're all doing here, right? We're trying to make music so we can make money, so we can pay our friends so they can make music and they can make money. You know, it's like it's a circular relationship, but a good one in the musical industry. Because, you know, I want to hire Rani to play on my records because she's a dope bassist. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you check out DistroKid at distrokid.com/VIP/lovemusicmore. Have fun. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Love Music More. I am Scoobert Dubert and joined by Rani Adi. Welcome to the show, Rani.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm super excited to get into your musical journey. I was watching the Tiny Desk concert, and it kind of like set me off on, I watched like 15 Tiny Desk concerts in a row after watching yours. So I just wanted to thank you for that, first of all, and ask, how was that? What was that like?
Oh my God, that was so surreal. I've been watching Tiny Desks for years, and I love Tiny Desk so much. And I also love the artist that I got to do it with, PinkPantheress. She's phenomenal. She's like
Super
one
cool.
of my favorite artists. So it was just really cool. They really let me do whatever I wanted, which was
Cool.
really special. And I feel like just being in the office as a whole was crazy.
What do you mean by do whatever you wanted? Was it kind of just like loose musical direction? Is that what you mean? Or like vibes or outfits, or like what do you mean by that?
The outfits were styled, but they let us choose which outfits we wanted to wear. But it was actually like a week of lockouts for like 12 hours rehearsals for 5 days.
Yes.
But the musical directors really let us, like, they didn't like compose the bass parts for me or anything like that. And the arrangements themselves were pretty fluid. Like we explored a lot of different arrangements until we landed, and I got to contribute a lot with it. Like I arrange and compose a lot of music too. So they, anything I said, they would like always try out. And they were
Cool.
Especially like, I think about the version of Illegal. I had been like, what if we did something like Weird Fish's Arpeggi? And then they were like, okay,
Yes.
but you play it on bass. And I was like, okay. And so it was very much like a fluid situation, if that makes sense.
Totally does. And I love that as like let's reach into the deeper musical bag.
Yes, absolutely. It was so cool. It was like such a special experience to have.
Love it. I want to take people into what a 12-hour lockout looks like, because I feel like a lot of people might have just heard you say those words and had no connection to what like that grind of rehearsals and how much goes into a Tiny Desk or like a performance like that that's high stakes. You really want your artist to look good because a lot of people are going to see it. What's the lockout? What's lockout mean? What does that look like? Walk me through a day in the life.
So I would say for this one, like with 12-hour lockouts. This is pretty typical for gigs that are like you're not consistently rehearsing with that artist or playing with them. And it's kind of like you have a short amount of time for like a big show. Something like Fallon would be similar, like any night shows or like anything like that. So basically, you wake up in the morning, you go to the rehearsal spot. So, say we're at the hotel, we get to the rehearsal spot by 9 or 10 a.m., and then we're rehearsing basically until 10 or 11 p.m. And it's not like rehearsing straight through. We might do like sectionals at some point. We'll take like a lunch break, but we're pretty much running through the set over and over and over again, exploring different arrangements. Then the artist usually isn't there for the whole day. Also, they're often just there for like pockets of time. So she might have been there for like 3 to 4 hours at a time, maybe 5, 6 towards the end of the week. But the first day she wasn't even there. We were just like,
Cool.
getting down the stuff. And then it was really cool. She's such a great artist because she came in and she was like, I want to do something entirely different. She was like, I want to take these arrangements so far from the original. So then I feel like I got to really give a lot of feedback and
Cool.
like come up with a lot of different ideas. We did this like medley at the end, which came about because I just was like, what if we tried these chords? And then when Vicky, like PinkPantheress, that's her actual name, but when she came into the space the next day, she had the idea to just do a bunch of her songs over those chord changes, which ended up being such a sick part of the arrangement.
That's incredible. There's so many things that I want to touch on in there. I guess the first thing that I want to ask about, personally, I really like it when you learn the songs, like kind of as the record, and then start to extend into alternate realities or arrangements. Curious your take on kind of that workflow.
I think in general with music, like I'm someone that will learn a record to a T, like exactly what someone played on the record. Like I'll learn every single note, the inflections, everything. And then I won't have to adhere to it at all. Because like if you know it inside and out, then you're able to, it's like almost like that saying that you learn all the rules to be able to break them. And I feel like it's very similar with music. Like I want to learn every intricacy and detail of something and then be able to just forget it and do whatever I want and like let like like move through you.
It's brilliant. I totally agree, because if you get into that level of detail, then you're not only like learning the parts, but you're also kind of learning the intention behind it. Like you're saying, the articulation or whatever, all of those decisions, and then you internalize the decisions and you can make things in that same kind of field. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like in general with music, like one of the best ways to learn a ton of vocabulary and to also innovate your own is to learn your favorite players inside and out and really learn them, but not necessarily need to. When I'm playing, I'm not thinking like, oh, I want to play like James Jamerson or Jocko or whatever. It's just that you get to channel those players because you understand the vocabulary that they were using, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. I also think on bass, this is something that I struggled with on guitar, but then when I started to learn more bass, I got better at on guitar, was articulation and really thinking through. It's not just like the notes, but it's like how you're approaching the notes. Like, I don't know. I think there's just something about bass, maybe like the mechanics of the instrument, that really lend themselves towards articulation, just like a saxophone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I grew up playing jazz, so I was like a jazz kid through and through, and I still play jazz, but it's not my like main pursuit anymore.
Yeah.
But something about jazz that's really significant is I feel like when you transcribe solos or bass lines and stuff, like all of my teachers really emphasize the importance of time and articulation with it. So then you get really into the nuance of how something sounds, how someone's feel is against time, you know?
Ooh, yeah. Let's dig into that, because I think of like just run-of-the-mill music fan, they'll feel that, like the concept of like rushing or dragging. Maybe they saw Whiplash. Maybe they haven't internalized what that means or how that feels. And the way that articulation, I think, plays into that too, because synthesizers help make that click to me of like attack time, where you can be playing something in the same like gridded location, like time wise, but the way that the attack integrates with like that immediate transient has like a very different experience of like if it's dragging or whatnot. Yeah, curious your thoughts.
Yes, definitely. So one of the biggest things with time is like I think that as a bassist,
yeah,
I always practice with metronome or unless I'm playing against a record. But I think having incredible time is the most important thing to being able to do anything else with music. It doesn't matter if you can play all these notes if they're not in, if your time isn't good, like it's going to show, especially when you're a bassist. So something I really played with a lot throughout the years is like how different things feel on a metronome pulse and also how different records feel. And you think about something like Miles Davis, the record Four and More, that's this record with like Ron Carter's playing bass. It's like Tony on drums. It's one of the craziest records that every song rushes incredibly fast. It like starts at one tempo and ends at a different tempo. And it's just the most insane record. But that feels so natural. And that's because they're all playing with time together, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's time is not only about like having consistent time, but it's also being able to adjust your time to the environment you're in and how the music is flowing.
Yes, absolutely. I've talked to some people that have sat in on pro level musician jams without being pro level musicians. And they told me it felt like playing basketball with a bunch of NBA players or something like that. But not in that you felt completely outclassed, but you felt like everyone else was so good at what they did that you're just like lifted up because they're catching like they were, you know, they were dragging, they were doing some weird stuff, but the entire ensemble was like, no, we got you, we'll pick you back up, we're listening. And they were like, it was just such an insane feeling to feel like the entire band like accounting for their weaknesses but making it sound cool. And those are my favorite kind of experiences. Sometimes you like, I've been in things where you know, it's usually me, I wasn't good enough, or I was with people and they just would do the jazz vibe, where they'd be giving me dirty looks or like, you know, not the collaborative experience that I grew up doing music. It made me better at music. It's a fascinating thing. Does the ensemble follow the weakest link? Do we all kind of go in a direction together? Or does somebody get like ostracized? You kind of have those options in front of you whenever you have kind of a weirder ensemble.
I feel like the most important thing as a musician is like to make everybody you are playing with sound like you want to play your best capabilities, but it's also like the weakest link in a group. You want to make sure that they still sound good. Like
Yeah.
you are a better musician if you know how to, one thing, play in excellence, of course, but like also play to the people that you're playing with. So it doesn't mean you have to dull your skills down, but lift them up. Like literally, like you should make them sound better than they would on their own, you know,
Yeah.
even if they're like a newer player or like the weakest link or whatever. I think it shows a lot about your musicianship if you're able to take a situation like that and really listen, which a lot of people do the opposite and they stop listening, which I'm like, when things go wrong in music, that's when your ears are the most important that they'll ever be.
Such a good point, because yeah, the metronome, sometimes, you know, we're going off in different directions, or you hit the weird situation where they might be a really great player, but something crazy happens. Like one of the best drummers I knew, the kick drum started sounding like really weird, but it was because the kick drum was running away from him every time he pressed it. And so he was having to like kick further and further and further with his leg out. And yeah, you had that kind of decision. I don't think we had tracks, so we were able to account for that a little bit. But you know, it wasn't his fault. There was just some crazy thing that was happening environmentally. That yeah, if we just ignored him, we would have made him sound ridiculous. By not ignoring him, you know, he gets to the end of the the song and he calls me over. We move the kick drum back. You know,
Absolutely. And like I'm not like you mentioned the jazz thing about vibing people and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's like one thing I just feel like music is meant to be moved forward. So like my end goal has not been to be like the best jazz musician in the world. Like I want to move music forward and like innovate. Not that doing jazz doesn't do that. Like I absolutely love jazz and I think it's like such a great foundation. But I also really didn't like being a woman in jazz, like growing up and stuff. There's just so much misogyny and
Ugh.
gave me a lot of character. But then I started to being a woman, like you would walk into a space and like people would automatically like have a preconceived notion of your abilities
Yeah.
without ever hearing you or knowing anything about you. And it was just like a very much a boys club. And on top of that, I feel like the vibe of playing was so not safe that I just try to never make people feel like my like younger self felt in like a lot of those environments. And it changed over time because like the more I grew, like the more respect you got, whatever, in those
Totally.
spaces. But it's like you shouldn't bully someone because they're a beginner.
No,
It's like I don't even believe it being like good or bad at something. I think everybody's like on their own journey and like you can be a beginner at something and you shouldn't be like shamed for it, you
totally.
know?
Totally. Or like not have the chops in on a certain day or in a certain genre or whatever. You're getting thrown into a weird situation. That was what I felt was like part of it was the people that I was playing with were young. I was young, and I was very much coming up from a non-jazz background, and so like I did not understand the vocabulary or the vibe, so I didn't get it. But eventually, I won them over. But I also had to get better. But it was kind of one thing that I'll always look back on was like, did it have to be that way? Did it have to be so brutal? Like I was still motivated. I was still practicing. I don't know if it really made me practice more. I think it just made me more sad.
Something that one of my mentors in college, Patrice Rushen, said, because I went to USC and she had said something about how you should build people up, not break them down. And she was talking about in regards to being a woman in jazz, because she really took me under her wing when I was in college and I felt like very seen by her.
Yep.
And she had said how important it was to like, you want to give people the foundation to feel inspired to practice and to believe that they can get to that destination rather than feeling like they'll never be good enough. Because like mindset is everything. Like if you believe you're never going to be good enough, you probably won't. Like I think the power of the mind is everything. And like if you're brought up in a way that's like positive reinforcement essentially and being like these things have been achieved, so like that means it's possible for you to get there too,
Yeah.
rather than making someone feel like very small. Yeah, I don't vibe with that type of narrative.
Did you do the pop program?
I was actually like a double major at
Cool.
USC, so I did the
Yeah.
jazz program and the pop program.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it was amazing.
That's awesome. I was part of the first class of the pop program.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
On what instrument?
Guitar mostly.
Okay, cool.
I'd say more songwriting. I did more like songwriting one-on-ones and stuff like that in juries, but guitar was like what I did all the ensembles and stuff for.
Amazing. The pop program, I don't know how it was because you were in the first class, but when I was there, it was like unreal. Like I think the best music program and one of the best music programs in the world. It was so good.
I couldn't agree more. And Patrice is a huge part of that.
Oh yeah, she's everything.
Yeah, love her to death. And I agree. She's one that, like, in terms of timing and articulation and pocket and feel and understanding, listening. I remember one time we were playing, I think it was Rosanna. She came up and played with us. Just like, yeah, I don't know. It was such a special program. I think that was part of what I was feeling was there was like this jazz versus pop animosity. It's cool to hear that there's people like you that do both. But early on,
yeah.
there were these weird people would write like things on our jury sheets and stuff, like children's handwriting, like music for kids or like weird stuff. It was just like, yeah,
Just like
whatever.
ego driven. That's like very jazz school. The jazz program was like literally all boys. So it was just like me and the boys. But when I joined the pop program, it was like the first environment I've been in so long, maybe ever, that I was like celebrated for being a woman. Like they were like, it's so cool that you're a girl that plays bass.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, oh my God, like you're a girl who plays bass, which is just like funny to me at this point, but
seriously,
none of it, it's
ridiculous.
like, it's just like part of the storybook and I'm not resentful or bitter
Yeah.
about any of it. Like I feel like it's all part of the narrative.
Yep.
But I would never want someone to do that. Like I would never treat people like that regardless of their gender or skill set or anything.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's an interesting thing, genre wise. It's also funny thinking about how like jazz, like what jazz was versus what jazz is in terms of like becoming like a part of the academy and like with like grading levels and stuff like that, rather than like, I don't know, this is more avant-garde crazy expression of self and drugs, and like it's in the same way that like rock is like, what is rock now? Like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like now what is it, like Ford commercials? It's just interesting to watch how music can change and how like there can be vibes attached to different genres, or at least in different places.
Absolutely. And music is so expansive. Like
Yeah.
music is like a never-ending well of like I'm someone that like doesn't even believe in mastery. Like I think that we can learn forever and ever and I don't think that you can ever reach like a level that you're like my philosophy with it is like there's always more to learn and that's what's
Yeah.
so exciting about music and there's always more to innovate on any type of music. Like why would you want your like for me I would never want my life's goal to just be to emulate everybody else that had come before me. I'm like learn everything I can from them and then innovate.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you, so I think that what you did on the Tiny Desk is a really good example and what you're doing also with your own project that I want to get into soon here too. How do you then take that innovation and put it out into the world in a way that like people can resonate with or that it becomes like, is that straddling that line of like commercial and like making a living and trying to be successful, but also trying to like push music forward and put more of yourself and your kind of like fingerprint on everything you do. How do you find that balance or is it even a balance?
I definitely think it's all a balance. Like right now, I'm in the beginning stages of developing my band Poster Girl, which is like we're a band. I'm the producer and mixer. Now I'm like producing and mixing the entire album by like
Yes.
myself.
Awesome.
But we are a band and like these are like my best friends who are I think like the best like four like we're five people, but these are four of the best musicians on the fucking planet.
Hell yeah.
So it's like the beginning stages of developing something that like I see an entire trajectory with. But we just released our first single. I'm currently producing our first album, but we have like written like four albums worth of
No
music.
way.
Of
Really?
course, yeah, we have a ton because we
Wow.
write as a collective, but
Yeah.
then the process for producing and mixing it is really like my favorite bands right now, like Hiatus Coyote is like one of my favorite
Totally.
bands, and I love that they fuse live with like electronica and like I'm a producer so I was like I want to do that type of approach. We don't sound like Hiatus Coyote. I feel like their fan base would resonate with Poster Girl, but it's like that type of hybrid of and I'm like doing a lot of experimentation. So it's like I'm at the beginning stages of building something. So right now I am not gonna like achieve everything right now, but it's like a long-term vision. And like 2 years ago, where I am now is like where I wanted to be. So it's kind of just like I feel like with developing any project, you kind of have to see like the long-term A to Z of a vision and also realize how to balance that with like making money and like work and play and like these different skill sets. So something that I did, like Poster Girl started like we started April 2024. We just released our first single like 2 months ago. Our second single's coming out in a few weeks. The album's probably going to come out early next year. I'm still like producing it. I'm guessing like February,
Great.
March. But
Awesome.
at the beginning of this year, I was like, okay, I want to produce only for my band and only for my solo project. And I want to develop these two projects from the ground up. We're starting at ground zero essentially for them. How can I do that and make money? And I was like, I don't really want to tour full time because
Hmm.
I know that I won't be able to do that if I do that. And I don't
Hmm.
really want to work for other people. Definitely don't want a coffee shop job, like none of that
Hmm.
stuff. Like, how can I fund this? So then I took this class called like how to work with music tech companies by this creator named Sides, who's amazing. She's incredible, so encouraging,
Cool.
has been so supportive, and she's just the best. And that course literally changed my life because then I
Really?
started doing content
Yeah.
obsessively, and
Yeah.
then I started doing it full time and
Hmm.
working with all of these software companies and hardware companies, and it was the best decision I ever made. And it's given me the ability to just do content
Cool.
essentially
Yeah.
and be selective with the gigs I take on bass because I love playing bass and
Yeah.
like but right now I'm trying to like I want to develop Poster Girl into like everything, you know? So
Yes.
I had to figure out like how do I do that and like focus all my attention on this but still be able to fund my life. And content is a lot of time, but I choose when I work. Like it's like completely all my hours and like the time for the monetary compensation is like way higher than other things. So it's just been like a good balance. I feel like that was like a
Yeah.
long-winded
No, it's good.
explanation to what you were saying about balancing everything, but yeah, that's like how I'm feeling with it.
You hit on so many things that I love. I think the most important thing for actually people that will be successful is unrelenting vision and actually doing stuff to get there. So like
Oh yeah.
being able to do both. Like I can feel the excitement from you. I can feel I see it in your eyes of like I know what I want this project to be, but then you're backing it up with like And I also recognize all of the steps that it's going to take to get there. We need these milestones, these albums, these singles, and like, etc.
And it's like also you have to like figure out how to market all of it, of course. And
Right.
that is like I think the trickiest part for a lot of people. Right now I'm in like an taking kind of with the marketing, I'm like, okay, like I need to figure out how to market this music, but I also need to finish the project too. So
Totally.
I'm like kind of like, okay, if this song's not gonna like immediately pop off, that's okay. It will have its time. It will have its time.
Hmm.
I trust the process
Hmm.
because the process has always worked out. Like it, at least that's how I feel. Like I feel like very blessed for the life I live. I'm really grateful for the family I have, for like the like experiences I've had, and like I know that in my life and in what I've experienced, I've everything has always worked out and I've always trusted the process. And it's like I literally 2 years ago wanted the life I live right now so badly.
Yeah.
And like I wrote in a journal exactly where I wanted to be
Yeah.
in a few like and then it's like in a few years from now I know exactly where I want to be with Poster Girl and stuff. And it's not going to get there until like we're a bit farther along. I don't expect anybody to know who we are for the next like 2 to 3 years. But that's like about being, I think, like a visionary in any form and like achieving greatness in
Hmm.
any step, or like being able to tap into like what, like not fearing, like what is like your deepest truth, and like how do you get to that destination and what are the steps? Because it's like the A to Z of a vision is everything. If you think short term, like, okay, right now I'm sitting here, tomorrow I want to be playing Red Rocks. Girl, like that's not how it works. Like that's just not how it works. And things take time, and time always takes so much time, but like
Hmm.
you really have to trust the process with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta earn it. And also you need to not be scared, because I think it's easy to get scared, especially in something that has a ton of competition, like music or whatever people out there are wanting to do. But like, the competition doesn't really matter. Like you were saying before about talent too. It's like we're all kind of on our own thing. And if you're true to it, if you find it, if you develop it, you're probably going to find some other people that are into it too. How many? Who knows? But like you'll find some people. And even like if you have 100 monthly listeners, it's like that's 100 people. Like I don't know, it's there are these levels that I think that we get very comparative, and also there's these levels of like we want compensation, so you want to like be able to survive, so you need to have certain numbers or streams or whatever to be able to do that, or Red Rock's ticket sales. But like finding the joy along the way, it's something I have to remind myself too of, just like it's not always this, it can be this, but keep the faith, keep the vision.
I feel like it's a good thing to note too. Like, say someone has 10 monthly listeners right
Yeah.
now. Tomorrow
Yep.
they could have 100.
Yep.
In 2 days from now, they could have a video that goes viral and
Hmm.
suddenly they have 100,000 monthly listeners.
Yep.
In 2 months from now, they could have a million monthly listeners. In
Yep.
2 years from now, they might have like 50 million monthly listeners. Like the trajectory of like where you are right now versus where you can theoretically get, and how quickly that trajectory can happen is unique to everybody's journey. Of course, you have to have the talent and like drive and motivation and ambition. Like you can't just want these things and not do anything about it. But like
Hmm.
it's like what I think about for like myself, what I want to do is so achievable. Like people
Yeah.
have done it. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? It's nothing
Yeah.
that I want to do is out of left field. I've literally trained my whole life to be able to kind of like execute the vision I have. And I think about like my mom is always like, you have to be like really careful with like kind of like how you go about talking about these types of things. Cause like, but I think I'm also not a very competitive person with other people. Like
Hmm.
I think that everyone can have space to shine, and like I don't feel in competition. Like I think about it with Poster Girl, it's like our music is not, I don't feel like we're competing with anybody, you know? Like I don't,
Yeah.
and I would never think that with really any artist. Like
Hmm.
they can all coexist. Maybe you'll have a similar, like I think about our fan base. I feel like Hiatus Coyote would be a great
Yeah.
for like a band for us to like think about in terms of like inspiration for like their shows and like their fan base and everything, because their music is a huge inspiration to us, but I don't feel in competition at all. I just feel like that's like mother is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
It does.
I think not being competitive though, and only being like not competitive with yourself, but like motivated to just like become like the next version. It's like
Hmm.
of yourself is a really powerful thing because then you're not comparing yourself to other people. And I feel
Yeah.
like competition and like being competitive in terms of music, like I get it with sports, it's different, but
Yeah.
in terms of music, like it's there's not like a win. I guess at the Grammys and things like that. Like there's winners, but like
Yeah,
in
totally.
general for like your actual music and your fan base and developing and concerts and all this stuff, there's no one you're really competing with. Like it's like a competition with yourself.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. And it's also like a great way to center the work and the practice and the study and the community and all of that because just like you're saying of like you're excited to be making music with the people that you're making music with and that's going to come across.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I'm like this is like I love it so much.
When did you decide to form the band?
So, that's a great question. So 2 years ago,
Hmm.
Danny and I, who's the lead singer and also like one of my best friends, my sister, one of my soulmates, like my musical like soulmate also, like she is in every lifetime we're together. And she was on a tour and I was simultaneously on a tour and we were both like on this tour and we were like, we want to start like we were on these stages and we were like I was experiencing this audience that would like know every word to every song in every city. And I was just like, damn, like that is something I want. I'm so inspired by this. And that's
Yeah.
something that I want. This is like a vision I've had since I was a little kid. Like I've
Yeah.
always wanted to have. I've had different bands throughout time, but never like Poster Girl is like my North Star.
Mm.
And Danny had like a very similar experience. And Danny's one of the best vocalists in the world. So I were texting about it and sending voice messages back and forth, which I have all of them. And
Good.
we're like, what if we
I'm so
started a
glad you do.
band? And at the time I was living in LA and she was living in Philly and I'm from Philly. And like we texted our friend Julian, who's like one of the best drummers ever, who had just moved to New York. And he was like, oh my God, this is all I ever want. And then we were talking for a few months and then Danny booked a flight. We made just the two of us made a ton of demos in this 2 week span
Cool.
in my bedroom. And then I was supposed to go on a tour March 2024, a week before it gets canceled because the artist is injured. So then I suddenly
Ooh.
have this whole month free.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to Philly and Danny and I are going to just fafo, like fuck around and find out. Like, let's just fuck around and find out. Let's see what can happen. So I go home, I find a sublet, I go home for the month, and we just start literally doing 12-hour lockouts like every day, just the two of us. And then we're like basically workshopping with every musician in Philadelphia. We're like, who could like what can happen? And
Yeah.
Julian was coming down from New York, like because it's right there. It's like
Right.
right next to New York. So he was coming
Totally.
down all the time. Then we booked a show for 420.
Wow. So you're already playing a show
Yeah, then
after
we
that
booked
sprint? Sick.
like we did this sprint, we wrote a ton of music, finalized the members who are like my best friends ever. These are also the greatest musicians. And it was this like cosmic alignment that everybody needed this at that time. And it was like the perfect in it's just something is so magical with Poster Girl. Like I've trained my whole life for this project. And I also think that like the connection I have with these people is so incredibly rare. And I've never had something like this before. And I've been playing music for my whole life. We
Yes.
all have, but something
Yeah.
about and also something about the way that we write too is just
Hmm.
so special. And like
Critical.
everybody is like really close friends. And it started like we were all just like posted up at my parents' house, like having sleepovers at my parents' house.
Sorry to interrupt this very important broadcast. What I'm asking for is for you to rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends. This is like the most important thing for this podcast to grow. So if you want to do this, you go onto the podcast screen, right? You click on the dot, dot, dot on Spotify. Under there, it says rate show, and you go and you click it. 5 stars. If you could do that for me, that's the best way for the algorithms and all this stuff to share it out with the world. I know that it's a lot to ask, but if you could please just hit those 3 dots and then a 5 star, it would really help us out and helps us, get the word out and spread the love of music. So thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And here's the rest of the episode.
So yeah, then 420 is like the official anniversary, 420 2024. And then we've had so much happen since then, but because it's like for me, this is the first time I've ever developed a project like this
Yeah.
as a producer and like mixing. This is like
Yeah.
first time I've ever mixed a project. So the
Cool.
first single took a while to finish.
What's that process like? As a mix engineer, I'm always super curious for people that mix and are a member of the band. how do you navigate like disputes, or somebody wants like this instrument louder or quieter, or have you not had to deal with like a lot of that? Do you have more creative freedom on the mix side? What's that look like, just like practically?
So since I'm producing and mixing it, I
Yeah.
feel like
Okay.
they're kind of one and the same in some
I agree.
way. Like I'm simultaneously producing it, and mixing it at the same time. It is like the craziest amount of work. Like no one would ever sign up to do this other
Yes.
than me. But
Yes.
I am someone that's so obsessive with music and like detail. I can't imagine anybody else producing or mixing this. Like I
Yep.
would never want that. Like I really at this stage for the mixing at this stage,
Hmm.
but maybe later on I would once, but it's just hard. It's so intertwined with the
It's so
production
intertwined.
process. And
Yes.
I think that Poster Girl's amazing, like because everyone in the band trusts each other so much. So there's just so much trust. And like, I'm so open to feedback. Like, anything you tell me, I will try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, oh my God, amazing. And so much of the notes, like, I think about Danny gives me the most consistent, detailed notes because when I'm entering the phase that I need feedback, because I've been working on like I just finished the second single coming out December 5th. I was producing that for a while, but when we entered the really like the detailed mixing stage, like we're at the home stretch, then I open it up for like a flood of notes from everyone. And I'm like, you guys need to give me these notes. Like I want the final product to have no notes at all. Like I don't want any voice left unheard. Like
Yeah.
I need all of them because I'm working my ass off to get this to where I want it to go. And I don't want to hear any negative comments once it's done. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? I
Totally
want
know
it
what
to
you mean.
be anything you want, like, or forever hold your peace type of
Yes.
vibes.
Yes.
And it's great because their notes are always great. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works. Like sometimes, and it's a lot of experimentation. Like we're in the I think it's gonna get just easier as we go. Like,
Hmm.
but it's a lot of experimentation. It's a crazy amount of work to produce and mix something because I'm working with live and electronic. So
I
it's like a
know.
very fusion, and I'm like trying to innovate, like unintentionally, but like very much like it's like this vision in my head. It is very intentional, but this vision in my head, I'm like trying to fully execute into sonic form. There's just so many moving parts. So it's just a lot of work, but it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think you're doing it the right way for what I was saying of like navigating disputes. If you're mixing and producing kind of at the same time, that everybody is feeling like, okay, this is where it's going. So you're making a lot of like the vibe decisions early and able to like get that collaborative. And then as you zero in, because like the worst, I'm sure you've had this, but like the worst mix note is like, hey, can we change the kick drum or something like this, like the keystone for the entire arrangement.
Oh no, yeah. There was definitely like we had with this last single, it
Yeah.
took us forever to get the vocal to a place where we were like, it's done. But it was
Yeah.
just like a very unique sound that we were aiming for. And like we had to really try a lot of things.
Hmm.
And also, I'm someone that I was watching Mixed with the Masters today, and someone was like,
Nice.
I don't do any of the vocal editing, like all of like the stuff with the breaths on a different track and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm the exact opposite. Like Danny's vocal is phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
she is a perfect vocalist. Her pitch is amazing, like all of it. I'm working with like one of the best vocalists on the planet, but I still want that vocal to sound as clean as possible, you know? So there's just like so much that goes into getting something to be off in where I'm hearing it in my head to be a final product.
Totally. I felt that with great vocalists. Sometimes it's easy to underdo it. Because
Oh,
like with somebody
totally.
that's not a great vocalist, it's like, oh, like I'm gonna zero in, get all the breaths, get all the consonants or whatever. And somebody that's great vocalist is like, oh, it sounds great. Done.
Yeah.
And that's a trap. That's a trap. You don't want to overdo it, of course, ever, but you also don't want to underdo it and like not, you know, put in the due diligence and the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% a balance.
Yeah.
It's cool though with producing and mixing this
Hmm.
type of thing is I'm learning so much every single it's like you
Yeah.
go into the DAW and I'm immediately in flow state
Yep.
with it, and it's just
Yep.
so it gets like very meditative.
Yep.
And even with gain staging, I'm like
Yeah.
it's just that's why I love producing and stuff. It's just this infinite world of crafting a sound in your head, and it's just like being the essentially like the force behind like a collective vision is like such a powerful thing to do.
It totally is. And production's so crazy, especially when you're doing the mixing kind of at the same time, is just how there's such a butterfly effect. That's why like gain staging is such a perfect thing to talk about. Of, I guess, I don't know if everybody knows what gain staging is, but just like the amount of volume that goes from one thing to the next and how loud they are throughout the chain can. And I learned this as a guitarist. That was one of my favorite things. Is I started to put my overdrive pedal in different places of my pedal board and crank it, and then see like what happens if I could drive something super loud into my fuzz pedal versus like after. And then it gave me the aha for like mixing of like, you can do crazy, terrible things to audio inside of the box and make crazy, wonderful things come out.
It's so interesting. Like, I love living in the digital era of music because you can just access every sound you want. So it's like a lot easier than me having to go to an analog studio. Like, I do everything in my home studio. Like, I have like 2 bedrooms in Bushwick. I live in New York City.
Nice. Yeah.
And one of the bedrooms is like a music studio, which is, it's like a home studio. It's not, I don't have like a drum kit or anything like this, but it's perfect for producing in the box because I just can like access everything. I just like, I call it going down the rabbit hole because like I'll just go in here for like hours, and it makes it so easy for me to work until like 12 a.m. sometimes, like I'm an early riser, so I try not to work like past then. But sometimes you just like are in flow state and suddenly, it's a crazy thing. Producing is one of my favorite things on the planet.
I agree. And flow state, I think, is underutilized and underappreciated and underloved in the broader world. Like, could you imagine how much more we would create and how much happier we would be and more prosperous if we maximized our lives around like actual flow and creativity? And because that's different kind of work. That's like a higher order work. You go into it and you come out of it feeling like you existed on a different plane for a while. And you also are able to access levels of creativity and insight and workflows that you could have never logically thought of.
I think with flow state, I couldn't agree more. One thing, like flow state, everything you just said is so accurate to the feeling of flow state. And it like, I think for me with music, it's very much like intertwined into everything I do with music. And I feel like it's at the forefront. And so much of it is actually a mindset you have around the art that you do.
Tell me more about that. I'm curious.
I think I'm someone that has, like, my mom is one of the most positive people I've ever met. And she's just instilled this form, like both of my parents have really instilled like a belief in myself that like I am from a young age always capable to achieve anything I want to do. You just have to work really hard. So with music, it was like I feel like when the voices inside your head are conducive to being able to be like, I can do this, rather than like you're not good enough, it like allows you to tap into other realms of creativity, if that makes sense. Because like flow state's a lot about the openness that you have into going into it and believing that you're capable.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost, I meditate every day also, and I feel like it's a very meditative form of existing. Like every time I like go into the box, it's kind of like I meditate before. When I say go into the box, I mean start producing. But whenever I do that, I like meditate before, and then like I go into the session and like I'll listen through and do whatever. But like once you're like locked in, like you're totally in this like state that it's almost like nothing else exists around you.
Yep.
And I feel that way with playing music too. And especially with postergirl, it gets like really crazy because I feel like we all enter these like really insane, we all meditate before we play together, and then we'll enter these like we write as a collective, but the writing comes from a lot of flow state, like us like in flow state. It's just a crazy experience to be as a collective. And we go on these like retreats where we go to like the Poconos, we went to Maine, we've gone on 3 of them so far, but we go on them like every 4 to 6 months, and it's just so incredible. And as we rise and like grow, I want to be doing those like every season.
Yeah. Absolutely. I like that perspective, every season. I don't know if I've ever had a flow state writing session in that way. So a lot of my co-writes have been like way more logical than I write on my own, for better or worse, I suppose. But flow state co-writing, that's really good. That's really special.
Yeah, I feel like it happens when it comes from like playing,
Yeah,
like we
yeah, yeah.
just jam and see
Right.
where it goes. Like,
Yeah, okay.
and
I think I felt that. Yeah. That's
yeah,
a good point.
and it's just like when you jam with people, I feel like you enter a state of flow.
You do. Yeah. You
It's
very
like,
much do.
yeah, so that's like basically we're not a jam band, definitely not. We're like all of our music is like very through.
Hmm.
But it's very like I mean, we kind of go all over the map. You've never heard all of it because none of it's out, but
Yeah.
you will,
Just the one.
you will.
Yeah. I'm excited. I really, really can't wait to hear it all. And I really like the way that you keep talking about the act of creating. And do you feel that way when you're practicing too? Or do you feel like the practicing is like giving you the stamina or like the bag to draw from when you enter the flow state creatively? Just curious, is there like a craft side, a flow side, and they interact, or is it all one bucket? Like how do you experience that just like spiritually, emotionally?
Totally. So I think that there's different sections of it. Like practicing is so important. And I feel like with say for example, I'm practicing bass.
Yeah,
Because with producing, I feel like it's a lot of it is just doing in the moment. It's
totally.
different than like practicing scales on bass or like learning tunes on bass. It's like very different. But I feel like with bass specifically, like when I go in, like I want to work on things that are not the strongest thing in my playing. Like I don't
Yep.
want to just pick up if I'm going into practice with the intention of getting better, I'm going to practice things I'm not good. I'm
Yeah.
not there. I don't like to say good or bad. I try to like
Yeah.
not use
Yeah.
those words with music, but
Uh-huh.
things that I have to work on, like things that I actually need to develop, not something that I already know how to do. Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
totally know what you're
I'm
saying.
like,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, like you should practice things that you're not excelling at,
Right.
essentially. Like you
Or
should
like
practice
things you
things that
have,
you're
like, you ever have those moments like where you're like improvising or whatever, you just kind of hit that wall and now you're thinking? It's like,
yeah,
practice that. Get rid of
exactly.
that.
And like I think a lot of it is like you don't when I play, I try not to think at all. So it's like
Totally.
I think a lot of it's just preparation too. It's like if you're playing a gig or something, like you want to know everything inside and out so that you don't have to think at all. And it's
Hmm.
just like all thoughts leave your brain. So then you can enter flow state and it feels like something's coming through you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I'm not playing. Like it's
Yeah.
something is moving through me and like I don't know what that is. Like that's like part of being in flow state, but I try to tap into that really every time I pick up my bass. And it's not even a conscious, like I don't think about it actively. It's just like something that it's been a practice throughout time. I feel like the thing about practicing is you have to be comfortable with not being good at what you're practicing. You have to be
Yeah.
comfortable with like I'm a big proponent of slowing things so slow. Like let's get so slow when we're learning something. Like I want to practice it incredibly slow because then when you speed it up, the accuracy is crazy. And then that just kind of applies to everything you do. Like I was always in the school of thought that like you should if you can't play something extremely slow, then you're not going to play it well fast. So you might think you play it well fast, but I bet there's like a whole ether that you're missing if you can't accurately play it slow.
I couldn't agree more. And that was one of the best and most brutal things that a bass player friend of mine taught me was like practice with a metronome that leaves out a whole bunch of notes. So it's like it's the downbeat every 2 measures, 3 measures, 4 measures, and like try and nail that. And oh my God, humbling, humbling.
That stuff's really hard. I
Yeah,
find that stuff
it's
extremely difficult.
super
Yeah.
hard. It's still hard for me,
Especially when you
absolutely.
start putting it on like off beats or like the
Yes,
anda. Like
yes,
that's when in college when I was like really deep into the jazz world, like I used to do things like that.
yeah.
I'm like, that is like the hardest. I think those are like
It's
some of the
brutal.
hardest. I could be playing one note and it would still be like the hardest thing I've ever practiced.
So true. Well, it's even just like I used to think that quarter notes were easy. It's like in some contexts, the things that seem like you're just playing 4 notes a bar, some contexts it's like you really, really, really can mess that up or not do that perfectly, or if you're doing it for long enough, like the stamina to keep steady and locked. All of those things are so underappreciated. And I think that's part of the reason why I do like pop music so much. Is it is sneaky hard all the time. It can be surface level easy, but then you hand that same piece of music to somebody else who's like, oh, I could do that. It's like, can you? I don't
Can
know.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like why I think it's also like pop music is so fluid. Like
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about being in the prop program is I learned like literally like 100 James Jamerson bass lines.
Exactly.
And those are like
Exactly.
and it's like you
Foundation.
start to like learn and dissect all of this music from like early Motown into modern day pop and you're like, damn, this there's so much depth and complexity in this music.
Totally.
And like the vocabulary is as rich and as deep as something like the jazz world that has
Hmm.
like I think a lot of people in the jazz realm that I encountered in college at least like did not see that.
Hmm.
And like I think I got so much out of it with understanding that like every genre has its own set of languages and like learn it and excel in like really really understand it to be able to implement it into your own craft. And then it's like when you enter flow state, like I think about it when I was in the Poconos just like a month or so ago with Poster Girl, we were jamming and we were doing prompt writing. And we were like, we picked a prompt and it was like, let's play like this pineapple taste. Like it was pineapple with tahini and lemon. And Zach, the guitarist, starts playing this like crazy riff that was like super acidic sounding.
Cool.
And then we're like jamming in flow state, and me and him are like playing in like the groove. And it's like we're entering this territory, and suddenly, like, I'm not even kidding. I feel like everything, it was really one of those moments that like everything you practice like comes in. Like I hadn't practiced this bass line called like it's on the song What Is Hip by Rocco Prestia. But suddenly that like driving like that like this driving like 16th note like rapid fire bass line just like
Super hard.
comes through me. And
Yes.
I was suddenly felt like I was Rocco Prestia, like in
Yes.
this like living room in the Poconos. Like it was just a really crazy moment where you're just sometimes you don't see the way that something like will like intersect into your like and it wasn't like I thought let me play like
Right.
Rocco Preston. It was like I
Nah.
started doing that and then I was like whoa like
Yeah.
tower of power. It's yeah.
Yeah. I tried to get a guitar lesson from I feel bad. I don't remember his name right now. Who played on that song.
Oh,
But
amazing.
it was super hard because he moved to the Philippines. And but I love everything about that song. But it is so cool to be like, I don't know, the musical vocabulary and history and like standing on those shoulders and reaching into that bag and letting it flow through you rather than intentionally being like, I am going to do this. It's like, no, like that's just in my blood and it's going to come out sometimes in the right context. I think all of that is super respectful to all of those musicians that came before, and also is, I don't know, the kind of things that make me excited about long careers and like your band of like, how far can it go? It can go as far as that rocket fuel will take it. I'd really believe that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think like anybody that's been anyone is like Julia Fox says this in her memoir,
Mhm.
was once a delusional dreamer. And it's like, I think about it like it's not delusional, it's being like a visionary and like being able to tap into future versions of yourself. It's like
Ooh,
when you close your eyes and see like what you want to build towards, like what is that? And like being
yeah,
honest with yourself about it and not fearing it. Like I don't move with fear with anything. I'm just like, we are so capable of doing like we can achieve like our wildest dreams if we like work really fucking hard and believe in ourselves. And of course you have to have like the ability to it's like more complex than that. But like I really truly believe like anybody that's been anyone has been once like in a space where they could like envision that trajectory, you know? And then you take the steps to get there. And it's this powerful thing that like trusting the process in every single form is so fundamental to achieving whatever success you want. And you see it in different iterations. Like a lot of people like miss the milestones along the way. And that's why it's like an A to Z of a vision. Like you don't go from playing like a small like bar to like playing Red Rocks overnight. Like that takes years to develop and like there's so many things along the way and the journey in a lot of ways is the destination, you know?
totally. And oftentimes your journey is not going to look like everybody else's, and it will go up, it will go down, it will go back up again. So much of it is like that grit, determination, belief in the vision, adapting, and continuing to grow. Like I love your focus on practice because it's super important and just keeping the antenna up.
Absolutely. I feel like with a like practicing also and like vision and all of that stuff, it's really like a lot of it is taking out the ego from whatever you want to do too. Like if you're gonna care so much about what people are perceiving you doing rather than realizing that no one cares.
Yeah.
Literally, no one cares. Like, also, anybody that's like in your corner should be supporting whatever you want to do in terms of like building. They should be like supportive of that, or they're not like actually in your corner. So I think it's just like a powerful thing with like practicing and mindset and determination. It's like there's not like a fairy that's going to come along and like make your dreams come true. It's like you have to do that. And like you have to execute the vision and you have to be able to see the steps. And it's like people talk about manifesting, and I'm like, yes, 100%. Manifestation, I think, is like combination of seeing a vision and taking the action to get to that vision.
Super,
And
super
then
well said.
like a magical things happen along the way. And then you're like, oh, it's just exciting.
So I always ask this question to all of my guests. Ronnie, I want to do the same thing for you. So the show is called Love Music More. Segment's called Love Music Why. Why do you love music?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. Why do I love music? I think music is a way to communicate an inner world and the world itself, like not only my inner world when I create music, but like other people's inner world and like the world as a whole, and to understand like the life experience through sonic form that like people across space and time, regardless of the language that they speak, regardless of the age that they are, all can connect with and relate to in different iterations and different forms. That's why it's like, and it's such an expansive way of creating art that is, I feel like, an experience as much as a sonic. It's an experience. And you think about like, you put a song out into the world, it might mean one thing to you, but then this person maybe in Brazil is listening to it and breaking down on the train crying because it like is explaining their life story with like a breakup that they're going through,
Yep.
and is super healing. I think something that's really significant with that question too is like why do you love music so much? I think it's also like I think about like all of the people that have come before me that are musicians and like why that they loved it, and if they didn't believe in themselves and they didn't like have the passion for music, like
Hmm.
the world would be so different. And I
Hmm.
feel that way about anybody that like feels strongly about like their path and their vision and stuff with music. It's like you don't know how you're going to change the trajectory of the world. Like no one really knows how someone with a musical force could do that. And I think about like if like Miles Davis never believed in himself, like the world would be so different, or Esperanza Spalding or Hiatus Coyote or whatever, the Beatles.
Yeah.
So it's just like an interesting train of thought with going into why. It's a good question.
It is crazy though, those, especially the way the world and music world is now, how you can reach these people you probably never would have reached before, even if you were pretty successful, and then they can tell you those stories too. Like, I don't know. I've made a lot of songs, and then I hear these random stories. It's so intense. Of like, you'll make something you just thought was like kind of silly. It's like I had a song called "Do What I Wanna," and the whole thing is like do what I wanna. Silly, silly little song. But somebody said that they got out of an abusive relationship, and that song like helped them point their way to like doing what they want with their own lives. It's just like, what the hell? I mean, all right, I'll make the next song then, universe. Like, come on, jeez.
It's it's one thing that's super powerful. It's something that I feel like really takes yourself out of the narrative entirely
I love
too,
that.
is like
Yeah,
thinking about it
I
as
love that.
something so much greater. Like when I was 15 was when like 15, 16 was when things really started to flip and I started practice for like 6 to 8 hours a day. And I was on a plane I had gone to Interlocken's like summer program for jazz.
Cool.
And I was on a plane back and I was like writing that in my journal. I was writing like if Esperanza Spalding never believed in herself, like who would I be? Like who would I be? And I took it and I just wrote a bunch of artists I love and I was like, you have to believe in yourself because you never know how you could change the trajectory of someone else's life time too. And I feel like that's really significant in terms for anybody to take that as a philosophy of like why to do something, like take yourself out of it entirely and think about like the impact that if you dare to believe in yourself and try, like you have no idea how far you can get. Like there's like no limit and it's everybody's path is so unique. If you believe in yourself, like yeah, I just feel like you can be limitless.
Great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Where can
Awesome.
people get in touch? Where can they listen to Poster Girl and keep waiting for that record next year?
Okay, yes, you can follow me on social media at Rani Adi, and you can follow Poster Girl at We Are Poster Girl. And I have a solo project under my name that's Rani Adi, and Poster Girl also is on all streaming platforms. Our first single is the only thing that's out, but the album should be out soon. So follow us along for the journey.
Well, I can't wait. I'll be along for it too. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.